Yo, what's up, Knicks Nation? Welcome back to the channel. And before we get into this one, I need you to do me a solid, smash that like button right now, because what I'm about to break down is going to get people fired up, and I want this video to reach as many Knicks fans as possible. All right, let's get into it. So here's the situation brewing in New York, and honestly, it's got me a little heated. There's a growing belief around the league that the Knicks are actively shopping for a legit starting center, and the name that keeps popping up as trade bait is Deuce McBride. And look, I get the logic on paper. I do. But every time I sit and really think this through, I keep landing on the same conclusion. Trading Deuce right now, for the wrong reasons, could be one of the dumbest moves this front office makes all offseason. Let's talk numbers first, because that's really what's driving this whole conversation. McBride is heading into the final year of his current deal, making around $4 million, which at this point is an absolute steal for what he brings on both ends of the floor. The problem is what comes after. Once free agency hits, Deuce is getting paid, and paid well. And knowing how James Dolan operates, knowing how skittish this ownership group gets when the word extension comes up, nobody in that front office is exactly racing to lock him up early. That silence is telling. And it's exactly why his name keeps surfacing in trade rumors. But here's my issue, my actual problem with this whole idea. The Knicks already have two massive contract situations to deal with before next season even tips off. Karl-Anthony Towns has that player option looming, and Josh Hart has his team option too. Both of those guys are going to need new money, real money, and that's going to eat up whatever cap flexibility this front office thinks it has. So if ownership is already sweating those two numbers, why in the world would trading Deuce for the sake of trading him make any sense? You're not solving anything. You're just shuffling the deck chairs. And that brings me to the real problem with this entire plan. The type of player they'd actually be targeting in return. If the Knicks pull the trigger and send McBride out, we cannot, and I mean cannot, let them bring back another player who's about to hit unrestricted free agency himself. That's not addition. That's just kicking the same problem 3 months down the road, wearing a different jersey. Case in point, a name that's been floated a lot is Moussa Diabate from Charlotte. And listen, on talent alone, sure, he looked great in blue and orange. He's athletic, he rebounds, he fits a need. But he's a free agent at the end of the season. The Knicks are already sitting less than $8 million under the second tax apron for 2027 to 28, and that's with only 9 players signed. 9. You think this front office, the same front office that's terrified of Deuce's next contract, is suddenly going to turn around and pay Diabate market value, while also trying to keep this whole roster together? Be serious. This is the trap I need you guys to see coming. Yes, technically, a center fills a bigger hole than what McBride gives you at the guard spot. Nobody's arguing that. But if that center is walking into free agency himself, all you've done is trade a cheap, controllable, versatile two-way guard for a rental. And knowing how this front office has operated the last few years, rental usually turns into guy we can't afford to keep real fast. So here's where my head's at, and I want to know if you guys agree with me on this. Drop a comment below and tell me straight up, am I wrong here? Because in my opinion, the smartest move, the safest move, is actually just keeping Deuce McBride. Full stop. He's cheap, he defends multiple positions. He can shoot the three at a high volume, and with his backcourt already stacked with guards, he's valuable insurance, not dead weight. Betting on an unknown, unrestricted free agent center over a proven guy already in the building feels like unnecessary risk for a team that's supposed to be building something sustainable. Now, if the front office is truly locked in on making a move, if they've already made up their minds that Deuce is getting traded no matter what I or anybody else says, then fine. But do it right. Go after guys with actual years left on their deal. I'm talking players like Dylan Cardwell, Ryan Carpenter, or Young Hansen. None of those guys are flashy household names, I know, but every single one of them comes with cost-controlled years attached, meaning the Knicks aren't walking right back into the same financial headache 12 months from now. And that's really the whole point I'm trying to hammer home here. This isn't about whether McBride is untouchable. No player on this roster should be considered completely untouchable when you're trying to build a real contender. This is about the Knicks front office finally, for once, thinking 2 steps ahead instead of 1. We've watched this team make short-sighted moves before. We've watched them chase the flashy name instead of the smart value. And every single time it's cost us in the long run. So if you're a Knicks fan watching this right now and you're just as tired of the front office making these panicked decisions as I am, let me know in the comments. Seriously, go off down there. Tell me what you'd do if you were running this front office. Would you trade Deuce for a rental center like Diabate? Or would you hold on to him and target one of those cheaper, controllable bigs instead? I read every single comment, so don't be shy. And hey, if this video got you thinking, if it made you a little frustrated, a little fired up about the direction of this front office, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow and helps more Knicks fans find these breakdowns. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because we're covering every single piece of Knicks news, every rumor, every front office decision, all season long. And I don't want you missing a single one. All right, Knicks Nation. That's my breakdown. That's where I stand on this whole McBride situation. Drop your take below. Smash that like. Subscribe if you're new. And I will see you in the next one. Let's go Knicks.